Welcome back to another Under Pressure. Today we are looking at the Ruger 1022 air rifle. The Ruger 1022 is easily the most popular .22 long rifle ever made. Especially if you're in the United States, I think it's very likely that it was your first firearm. I know that it was for me. I still remember coming down Christmas morning and finding this under the tree and being incredibly excited. And I still have it, still shoots great. So it's really exciting that there is a very good replica available now. The Ruger 1022 is made by Umarex. It's officially licensed product, so it's an official Ruger rifle here. And all of the details match up almost perfectly. The first thing I noticed when I saw this at SHOT Show, in the SHOT Show 2019, was how well the sights were done. If you look, you can see the firearm version. You've got this notch in the back, kind of a double notch. I don't know if you can see that there. A buckhorn style sight where you've got a smaller notch inside and a larger notch. That gives you good elevation range. And in fact, when I took this out and was sighting it in, the smaller notch, the notch within a notch, was spot on at 10 yards, and then holding it level with the top notch was spot on at 35 yards. So that was a really nice touch. You've got the same post here with the brass bead on it, just like the original. No fiber optics here, so you can get a really crisp, clean sight picture for really good target work. Now if we go down the gun, we've got a nice synthetic stock. We've got checkering here and here. It's comfortable, gives you a little bit extra grip, especially if it's a bit wet. You've got the same barrel band at the front, and at the back we have fixtures for affixing a sling. So a nice touch here. The sights, I should mention, fold down. So if you want to put a scope on here, you can fold those down and get them out of the way. One thing I didn't mention also was that you do have, if you can see this screw here, you can loosen that up and adjust the elevation, but you don't have a windage adjustment on this gun. Now if you want to mount a scope, you have to buy Ruger 1022 bases, but this is tapped so that you can just screw them right in. Typically Weaver bases, and just get the front and the back, screw it on, and then you can mount your scope rings onto that. Now one of the things I really like is how well the magazine mimics to the original. It looks just like it. I wish I could have found, I couldn't find, I've been running a banana clip on this one, so I couldn't find the original magazine. Got it somewhere, but if you look, to remove the magazine, you just pull this lever forward and pop that out. And you can see it darn near fits. It's just a hair too narrow, but it's, the styling and everything is just perfect. It's quite a good little magazine. The best way to load it, you can load it singly like this, pop that retaining pin back out, and then you can load them in that way. Return it, pop it back in, and you're ready to go. All of the controls work just like on the original, except for this right here, which is the bolt catch and release on the firearm. The bolt just doesn't work the same, so you don't need to lock it open. Otherwise, everything works just the same. You get the same feel. Very nice here. The trigger is pretty heavy. The specs say about 10 pounds. And I don't have a way to measure it, but it is pretty darn heavy. But it's not a bad trigger as far as that goes. It's not gritty. It's not creepy. I don't have CO2 in there. I've already checked everything. So it pulls back, and then it has a pretty clear wall that it comes up to, so you can get really good predictability and accuracy out of it, even like that. But one thing that Umarex has done that I really like is they've let you use the bolt to make the gun function in single action modes. So with the bolt pulled back, the trigger is really a lot lighter and pretty darn easy to pull. So let's go ahead and test that. Now here with a trigger gauge. The one thing about it on single action versus double action is that it's not, you don't have a crisp wall. But again, that doesn't, that shouldn't affect it too much. So on single action here, let's go ahead and see what we get. So 3 pounds, 14 ounces. Four pounds, 4 ounces. And 4 pounds even, for an average of 4 pounds, 0.8 ounces. Now this is a CO2 air rifle, of course, and the CO2 is stored here in the butt. So you see this little button on the back. All you have to do is depress it, turn it all the way around, and then you can remove the butt stock, the butt pad here. And you have the Allen wrench in the back, which is just such a great little touch. I love it when they incorporate it in so you don't have to keep a separate Allen wrench floating around, which I always lose. Now you can unscrew here, pull that out, and you insert 2 CO2 cartridges here. So we take the first one, put a little bit of Pell gun oil on it. You just really need it on the first CO2 cartridge. Drop that in. Now you put the second one in, butt first, so they're butt to butt in there. And when you tighten it up here, when they pierce, they pressurize that whole cylinder, which is really nice. And then you hear that first puncture, and I can never hear the second one, so I just go ahead and tighten it up, you know, and then I back it off just a little bit so there's not quite as much pressure on the valve there. And I don't hear any CO2 coming out, so we're good to go. Pop that back on, turn that, and that's all there is to it. Load up your magazine and you're ready to go. But that's enough talking about this for now. Let's go to the range. We'll shoot it over the chronograph and we'll do some accuracy testing and sound testing and see how it performs. Got the target set up downrange at 10 yards. We're going to do 10 shots. We'll try out a few different pellets. We'll start out with the Crosman Premier Lights in the brown box. These should shoot the same just as your regular 7.9 grain Crosman Premiers, especially at this range here. Now there's a couple ways you can load this magazine. You can just put the pellets in, you know, do a few at a time here, and then you know, rotate it around. But the easiest way to do it is to pull this switch back here, this little pin, pull that out, and then what you do is just set it in your tin of pellets, or your box in this case, and then just drop the pellets on top, shake it. You can see that they basically all settle in, and you can load up really quickly. Now, you need to seat the pellets. If it's a soft lead, you can just push them in, but these hard Crosman pellets need something. A pellet pen would be great for this, or in this case, a regular pen. So I'm just going to pop those all in. You don't need to seat them as far as this pen's seating them, but that's just the way it's working out. Then you can drop that back in, push the retaining pin forward into the gun, and you're ready to go. So because we're shooting targets here and because of the angle, and I'm kind of aiming downward since we're only 10 yards away, we're going to go ahead and shoot it with the single action only with this cocked each time. And that's 10. Now I'm loaded up with 10 7-grain Meisterkugeln pellets. We're going to send them downrange and see how they do. And this is a light wad cutter pellet, so should be accurate at this range. And that's 10. With a 7-grain Meisterkugeln wad cutter, we got a high of 530 feet per second, a low of 456 feet per second for an extreme spread of 74 feet per second. The average was 501 feet per second. Now our range is not heated. It's rainy weather here in Utah right now, so it's a bit cold, and I was shooting fast enough that the CO2 didn't have a chance to get brought up to temperature. On a warm summer day, you should see a little bit higher and more consistent velocities than we got here. In our narrow enclosed range without any sound deadening, the high reading was 92.9 decibels. Now let's look at our targets. This is the Crosman Premier Lights, 7.9 grain domed pellets. We got 10 out of 10 in about 0.8 inches. I mean, a really good group. You can see that my thumb just covers it. I can almost basically cover the whole thing with that finger. So really, really good accuracy out of that. Now when I shot, this is another group that I shot off the camera, had one flyer. Again, I can cover the 9 out of 10 there with my finger. Really impressive accuracy with a pretty affordable pellet. Now this is the target for the Meisterkugeln. Again, the 7-grain pellet, it's a wad cutter. We had 10 out of 10 in about an inch. I was expecting him to do a little bit better because when I shot them earlier, I got this group. That was my first shot when I was kind of settling in, and then 9 out of 10 went right here. I mean, 8 out of 10, I mean, that's a 1/3 of an inch group there. With open sights, CO2 Airgun at 10 yards. I was really, really pleased with that. When I shot this group, my eyes were getting tired, and again, with the open sights, notch sights are a little harder to shoot when I don't have a lot of light in that range. But again, really good groups. This was one that I shot, and the sound testing, I decided I'd try a different pellet, and so the first 3 went into groups so small that I kept going, and so that's 10 pellets in about a 1/2 an inch, I mean, or less. I mean, you can see my finger just covers it really easily there, and that's the Crosman Premier wad cutters. Just a really cheap pellet that performs really well here. So, really impressive accuracy. Let me go ahead and sum this up. But before I do, if you've found this video helpful or informative, we'd love it if you'd like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Then we really appreciate that. And make sure and ring that notification bell so you find out about future videos that we release. So let's get into it. What I like and what I don't like. There's really a lot to like about this gun. I love the sights. I love how accurate, just the feel, the look. You can mount a scope just like on the original. It doesn't come with the bases, just like on the original. The magazine looks, I mean, it's just a great little rifle. The only complaint you can really have about it is, that hard, 10-pound trigger pull. But Umarex has alleviated that by letting you, cock and work it in single action mode, which is gives you a really nice trigger. Perfect for any sort of accuracy testing, any target shooting you want to do at close ranges. You get a pretty good amount of shots per fill, good velocities, what we'd expect from a CO2 air rifle of this type. And overall, this is a great backyard plinker. And in fact, I'm going to go to the range and do some plinking because that's what this gun is really designed to do.